welcome. 59 Radio presenting a little bit something different. My name is Michael, KC9PHK. I'm going to explain the process of preparing to take your amateur radio license examination. Let's get started. First, you're going to want to study the question pool, learn from the question pools, pick up as much knowledge as you can so you develop the understanding. You're understanding the questions, you're seeing the questions, you're seeing the answers, you're seeing the correct answers so you know which ones to pick out of the question pool. And you're also aware of the figures. When you look at those pictures, you know which items are being laid out in the schematics. I found that different formats are beneficial. I've used reading material, I've listened to audio books. There are, or used to be, a CD series from Gordon West. Plenty of good material out there, as well as free material. Another suggestion is take online practice tests and make sure you're achieving passing percentages at consistent rates before you take your test, so you're guaranteed that you should be able to pass. A lot of examination websites will focus on your weak areas and keep showing you those questions in hopes of you developing a better understanding and a knowledge for those questions, and to get you past missing those. All right, number 2, prepare. You're going to want to prepare by getting your FRN prior to testing. Majority of the volunteer exam coordinators and VE teams are no longer allowing Social Security numbers to be used in place of the FRN. The FRN's free. You can go onto the FCC website and get it. Typically, you can get it that same day that you apply for it, but you do need to do it probably at least a week beforehand so that you know you're going to get it. If you already have a license, such as a GMRS license, there's a very good chance that has FRN number already assigned to it. You can use that same number as long as it's attached to your name. Now, if your GMRS license is in someone else's name in your family, you do not want to use that. You want to use it attached to you. And basically it tracks your Social Security number to the FRN back to you, so that in the future that FRN is especially going to be critical when the fee for licensing is going to be required for the FCC. They're going to track that back all through the FRN, your Social Security number. Of course, the Social Security number is going to be on the FCC side, so it's not going to be public information, but the FRN is public. Your Social Security number obviously isn't. And then the next thing you're going to want to do to prepare is find a testing location on a date and time that work for you nearby. Don't schedule one that's going to be hundreds of miles away. Find a local club. Ask them, hey, can you do a test session for me? Most clubs are workable, that they can get a group of VEs together on short notice. It doesn't take that long as they have a good team developed. Number 3 on this is test day. These are the items that you need to bring. I'm telling you that you need to bring them. There is a chance that you might not need 1 or 2, but at least you will have them. Okay. Number 1, I got in here, money. Find out the amount that's required by the VEC you're testing with. It varies. Some of them are 13, some of them are 15. It depends on the VEC you're testing with. The VE team has to obtain money to cover some of the costs. And half of that gets split between the VE team, and half of it goes to the volunteer exam coordinator, the main office that handles the processing. Our group, we do it through Laurel testing. There is no fee. The out-of-pocket expenses are shared amongst the VEs, so any test taker, no money. We don't even accept the donations. There's no reason to donate anything because really there's very little involved. The next thing you have to bring is a photo ID. If you're a juvenile, there is a list. Each VE team has a list of what they can and cannot accept if you're a juvenile. Photo ID, I know that school IDs, the library card, there's a few other things that you can get as a juvenile that are acceptable. Going on down, your FRN. You want to bring that FRN number because you're going to have it in order to fill out some of the forms. I'll show you one of the forms and exactly where that goes a little bit later on. You're also going to want to bring a paper copy of your FCC license if you're upgrading. Many VE teams do require a copy of your license to show that you are who you are, along with your photo ID. Don't expect to get that copy back. Some Some VE teams will have to take that copy and submit it with their paperwork. Others will return it after they get the information that they need off of it, if necessary. You're going to want to bring a pen. This is on your forms. Some of your forms you want to fill out in a pen. You're obviously going to want to sign your CSCE in pen. Your 605, you want to do it in pen. And then I got a pencil with an eraser. At least one pencil. You can do 2 or more. The pencil is vital with the test taking. As you're filling in those bubbles, you don't want to make a mistake in pen and not be able to erase it. Pencil makes it easier. I've heard it both ways. I've heard guys that take the test in pen so they don't go back and change their answers. Say they always stick with the first answer, but I'm one that I've always said use a pencil, then you can erase it. You don't have to have another answer sheet, and then the VE team, as they grade your answer sheet, they can tell where you erased and that which one is your definite answer. With pen, you're marking out one for the other, and it's hard to determine when you're grading which one was the intended answer. Next thing is a calculator. You can bring a calculator. You do not have to. There are very few math problems on some of the technician class exams, but most teams now have gone away from providing calculators, and also they are eliminating the use of phones and smartwatches. Obviously, for reasons that we all understand, people cheat, people have saved answers. Expect if your calculator is there, it's a scientific or one of the more advanced ones, that the VE team will probably come around and make sure that the memory's cleared out so you've not saved any previous work in there. You're also going to want to bring your email address. Previously, the FCC required you to have your mailing address on file. Recently, the FCC has said they want your email address. They're going to start doing everything by email. So you want to make sure your email address is one that you're going to use, one that's not going to get closed down because it's idle. So you're going to want to make sure it's an active email address. And this is where you're going to receive notifications from the FCC should they need to contact you. All right, then. After the test, each team has a different procedure, so make sure that when you're handing in your exam, you're following that VE team's procedures, whether it be raising your hand when you're done or waiting for everyone to be done. Make sure you follow the instructions, because failure to follow instructions is probably one of the number one reasons why guys are given instant fails. And I have witnessed it in a few test sessions where that VE teams have been so strict that they have removed someone from a test session for a simple mistake issue like this, not following a procedure. The team will likely grade your exam, and then they'll let you know whether you passed or failed. Every team has a different procedure for handling this, and most of them will often let you take a retest after you fail without requiring any additional fee. Some of them may require you to fill out another additional form, a new form, and destroy your first form, so it's like a fresh start. We typically will, and I know most teams around do as well. Once you pass, we encourage you to go the next level up. So if you take your technician and you pass today, we're going to push you towards taking that general test. Or if you took your general and did well, then we're going to give you the extra test and say, hey, you want to try this? Don't think you have to. It's always offered typically by most teams. It's an encouragement. You can at least see what that next test is like. You may not get that same test. Obviously, most teams have different versions of the test, but you can at least make that attempt and see where you're at as far as studying for that next test. All right, then additionally, after the test, this is part 2, the VE team will fill out your CSCE. This is going to show that you successfully passed. Make sure that you sign it. Make sure that the VEs have all signed it. And it includes the date, license class that you obtained has been marked correctly. If you were to take this form and go to another test session, it would show them, if you have not already showed up in the FCC database and you didn't have your license, that you've already passed your technician, so you can test for general or extra while you're waiting. Also, if you're general or extra, this is the document that shows that you have those privileges and that you're authorized before the FCC shows you as being valid. Again, you want to make sure that everything's signed and all the signatures are on there. The VE team has obtained all the information they need from you. Make sure that they've cleared you to leave before you leave, just so nothing's missed. Your new license grant will appear in the FCC database in the coming days and weeks. I always say days and weeks. Some VEs send their stuff in electronically, which we do through Laurel. We can typically have a license in 2 to 3 days or less. There are some other groups that they mail their paperwork to a coordinator who then has to process it and mail it in to the main office, and that may take a few weeks. Now, forms and other information. Here is a website that you can write down, or I will hopefully get it included in the links below. This is how to get your FRN. It has quite a bit of information on what it is, what it isn't, as well as working through it. It's https://www.fcc.gov/wireless/support/system-user-FRN. And you can also Google search that, how to obtain FRN, and that you want to make sure you get the fcc.gov website. All right, and briefly pause here for a minute, and I'm going to pull up some other forms and show them. All right, displayed on the screen now is the Laurel Amateur Radio Club, FCC Forum 605. It resembles the same one used by the other VE teams. First off, and this form has to be completed for every time you take a test or renewal, or every time you make any changes to your license in a test session. So we start off up here, following the mouse. Hopefully it's showing up correctly. You're going to print. You always print on here, and this is where I suggested the ink pen. You're going to put your last name in here. If you have any suffix, so junior, senior, etc., you're going to put that there. First name is the next box over to the right. You want to make sure you get it in there. And your middle name initial. You don't have to put your middle name, just your initial. If you have a call sign, if you're testing for a technician, you can leave that blank. But if you have a call sign, you want to enter that right here. Your mailing address. Make sure you include the actual address where you receive mail. Don't use someone else's mailing address without them knowing. This is what will be displayed on the FCC website. And here's the next important box, FCC registration number, FRN. It says if no FRN, then social security number. But with Laurel, we're doing away with that, so we need that FRN number. Then the city of your residence, the state code, which is the abbreviation, the 2-letter abbreviation for your state. Next box is the zip code. You can include the 5-number zip code, or you can include the 9. Your telephone number, including the area code, is optional. You can skip it if you want. And email address is listed as optional, although that optional highlight will be removed at some point because that is going to be required. Okay, then the next box that's very important as well, especially if this is your first time. Have you ever been convicted of a felony in any state or federal court? What you enter here, and I have had people enter yes and not intend to, so I had to make them fill out a new form, but you're telling them whether you have or have not had any felony. If you put no, we're going on. It's not a big deal. If you put yes, I have to give you a form which tells you how to proceed. Obviously, if you don't pass, then it's not going to go anywhere. But if you pass your test, your license goes into review until the FCC hears from you. And we have a form which explains how to do it. You have to basically write out what the conviction is, when it was, the circumstances. Basically, you're defending yourself to explain what your conviction was. Does having a conviction of some sort of a felony guarantee you won't get a license? No. There are probably hundreds of thousands of licenses that are issued every year to people that have had felonies. It just depends on the type of felony. I can't name one felony where it's been specifically disallowed, and I can't name one where it's specifically the license was issued. It varies based on case to case. All right, the next area here is depending on what this form is for. Right here, examination for a new license grant. If this is the first time you're taking a test, and again, the VE team will walk you through this the majority of the time. If this is the first time, you're going to want to check this first box. If you're renewing, which a lot of guys figure out that they can do it online, they do it without filling out the form at a test session, which is great. But if you go to a test session just for renewal, not any more than 90 days before your license expires. 90 days is the opening for when you can renew your license from when it expires. So here we go. If you're renewing, then you're going to check this box. If you're examining for an upgrade, so if you're a technician and you're taking your general, you're going to check this box over here on the left where the cursor's at. If you need to change your mailing address, then you're going to check this box and make sure you have put the new address in the above. If you're just changing your call sign, you want to put this checkbox, change my call sign systematically. Or if you're changing your name to a new name, say you got married, divorced, something like that, and then you put the new name up the top and the former name here. Obviously, you're going to print. And you have to initial here, showing that, yes, I marked the appropriate box. Then we're going to go down here. The next section, do you have another license application on file with the FCC that has not been acted upon? So if you've already tested, let's say, and said you had a felony, and now you're waiting on the FCC, you're going to enter that purpose here. So then the next thing, only one more place you even need to do anything here, and that's this section right above 2. There's this big black X, your signature in there, and the date. Then this bottom section, the VE team takes care of that. So typically after an exam session, they will have this box checked here over on the left, whether you did not get a license upgrade, obtained a technician general or extra. It'll include the examination session date, the location, and it will be signed by 3 if it's actually going to go somewhere. If you did not obtain anything, this form is typically checked with the no new license upgrade and then returned to you. It has to be returned to you and destroyed. So yes, this form has to be disposed of if you do not pass the test. Typically it's returned to you. Some organizations will allow you to return it to them and they shred it right there on site, but so that you know none of your information is getting out beyond that test session. It's not like they're making copies of it. Alright, the other thing I want to show before I end this video is the pass or fail numbers for the technician in general. Because there are 35 questions, you fail after you have 10 wrong. So you can actually miss 9 and still pass your test, and it shows this is our pass or fail scale that we utilize. Percentages are not all that important, but it kind of shows you at 9 your passing rate is 74.3%, and that's obviously 26 correct answers. Now when you go to take your extra class exam, there's 50 questions on that exam, so you can actually miss up to 13 and still pass. 14 would be failing. But I just wanted to give you that, show you that, so you know how many you can miss. A lot of people worry about that. Don't worry about how many you miss, worry about how many you get right. And thanks for joining us again. Hopefully 5-9 Radio and myself, Michael, KC9PHK, help you out with your future test session. And if you have questions, leave your comments. Thank you.